Hello, and welcome back to another Chris McPherson Show Daily Dose. And if you like your cricket news short, sharp, and straight to the point with a little bit of usefulness about it, make sure you hit subscribe so you don't miss an episode. We've got plenty of cricket to talk today. We're picking apart not just the New Zealand and India first one-day international of their series, but we're also going to recap and wrap up the Sri Lanka and Pakistan T20 international series, the three matches that took place in Sri Lanka in the lead up to the T20 World Cup. So let's get straight into it. As I said off the top, if you haven't already, make sure to hit subscribe, hit like on the video, get involved in the comments as well. But let's start it all off with India hosting New Zealand in the first one-day international. And India won the toss. New Zealand was sent into bat in that opening match. And on this surface, it actually looked like a pretty solid start. Devon Conway and Henry Nicholls gave New Zealand exactly what you want. Some early stability. Admittedly, a little slow, but a good platform for New Zealand to kick on from. They both brought up half centuries, both spent plenty of time in the middle getting their eye in, and both ensured New Zealand didn't lose early wickets. But this is where the game started to drift a little. The run rate never really kicked on. Now, context matters here. This was the first ever men's one-day international at this venue. So there was some uncertainty around past scores, but the early consensus was pretty clear. Anything under 330 was probably going to be a little bit short. You probably want to be sitting between that 330 to 340 in terms of a competitive target. New Zealand just couldn't quite get there. They finished 8 for 300, which was competitive but not imposing. Daryl Mitchell anchored the innings beautifully with 84. Once again, showing his value as that middle order glue guy in white ball cricket, as well as a key all-rounder. Conway and Nicholls' 50s gave them a platform, but the lack of acceleration of run rate through the middle overs meant they were always chasing a total rather than setting one. It really felt if one of those three top-order batsmen had have gone on with it, from Mitchell to Nicholls to Conway, they might have been able to set that competitive task for India. But, look, it wasn't that far away. India with the ball, from their perspective, it was a pretty controlled bowling performance. No one completely blew the game apart, but everyone did their job. Mohammad Siraj, Prasid Krishna and Harshit Rana all finished with 2 wickets each, sharing the load and preventing New Zealand from landing a decisive late punch. It was fairly disciplined, it was reasonably structured, and it kept the chase manageable. Speaking of India's chasing 301, they didn't cruise, but they were never panicking either. There were a few bumps along the way, a couple of moments where New Zealand threatened to grab the momentum and tighten the screws. But India's top order managed to absorb the pressure. Shubman Gill's 56 from 71 balls was crucial. Not flashy, but calm, measured, and exactly what was required early in the chase. Then came the backbone of the innings, and cometh the hour, cometh the man, Virat Kohli, a superb 93 from 91 balls, falling just short of another century, pacing the chase perfectly, rotating strike, and picking his moments to find the boundary, and ensuring India were always just within sight of the required run rate. It wasn't a frenetic chase. It was controlled, reasonably methodical, and classic Kohli in one-day cricket, his white ball best. Shreyas Iyer added an important 49 from 47 late to keep the momentum ticking along. And when things got tight later on, India still had answers. KL Rahul and Harshit Rana both chipped in with 29 at better than a runner ball. And suddenly what looked like a nervy finish turned into a statement. It did take something special to close it out, though. A huge 17-run 49th over blew the game closed. And India crossed the line with 6 balls to spare to win by 4 wickets. For New Zealand, you could ask what went wrong. There's certainly plenty to like, but also a clear lesson. That acceleration of run rate wasn't quite there, and it's probably something they need to get sorted out a little earlier in their innings. From a bowling point of view, Kyle Jamieson was outstanding, 4 for 41 from his 10 overs. He was threatening, hit the deck hard as he does, and he gave absolutely everything, but probably lacked the supporting cast. The reality, 4 of New Zealand bowlers went at 7 or more runs and over, and against an Indian batting lineup this deep, that margin ends up being the difference. At this level, you don't need many loose overs, just a few, and a side as good as India will make sure to pay. The one-day series will now move on to Rajkot on Wednesday, so we look forward to looking at that game as it comes up. But we move on to Sri Lanka and Pakistan, the T20 series, the 3-game series. And this one hosted in Sri Lanka. Game 2 was washed out, Pakistan had won game one, which meant everything came down to the decider. And a 12-over shootout as again rain impacted the fixtures here. Pakistan led the series, as I said, 1-0 heading in. And shortened games usually mean chaos, and this one absolutely delivered. Chaos delivered with blunt strike force from the bat. Sri Lanka batted first, and they went after it from ball one. They piled on 160 runs in just 12 overs, which is an outrageous scoring rate in any format, no matter what the target of overs is. Kusal Mendes got them rolling, and the real damage came on late. Janith Liange provided the spark, but Captain Dasun Shanaka was the one pulling the strings. It was a full-blown explosion. 34 of just 9 balls, including 5 sixes, accounting for 30 of his runs. Pure power, clean striking, and a real momentum shift. Pakistan, their chase of 160 had moments, but it was always going to be a big ask. Salman Agha was sensational. 45 off 12, striking at an absurd rate and keeping the chase alive far longer than many thought it probably should have been. But consistent wickets falling around him meant that it was going to always be a lost cause, and that was the difference. Wanindo Hasaranga was the star for the Sri Lankan bowling attack, taking control of the game absolutely and completely. 4 wickets, big moments, and total authority. He was deservedly named player of the match and player of the series, finishing with 5 wickets from the 2 completed matches. Sri Lanka held their nerve. They won by 14 runs and locked it up at 1-all. A strong result heading into the T20 World Cup now. And again, for both these sides, familiarity with the Sri Lankan conditions will be key because they'll play all of their group games in the upcoming T20 World Cup in Sri Lanka. So we're looking forward to seeing what that World Cup has to deliver, as it is just around the corner, and we'll be talking much, much more white ball and T20 action over the coming weeks as we lead into that February start date. But that's your daily dose for today, done and dusted. If you enjoyed it, make sure to hit like, get involved in the comments, let us know what your key takeaways were from this game, and hit subscribe. Make sure to follow us along on our social media channels as well, at The Chris Mack Show, for plenty more cricket analysis, previews, and quick hits like this, as well as much, much more from around the world of sport. But until next time, a big thank you to you as well for tuning in, and we'll see you again here on your home of the black and white of sport. No grey opinions, The Chris McPherson Show.